Hi guys, me Ty here, and today I'm going to talk about how I lost 100% of my hearing in my left ear. I went totally deaf, and um, just to let you guys know, I was able to get my hearing back eventually after a long period of time. Um, and so I'm going to tell you my symptoms. So what happened was April 13th, I noticed I started losing my hearing, and during my 6 months in Cambodia, I wore earplugs every night and it's just because I live next to a very busy street, and the only way I could sleep is having earplugs in. And I realized that earplugs they push a lot of the wax in there, and that's what I thought was happening. That I just needed the earwax cleaned out, and it wasn't that bad at that time. I just like I said that's what time I noticed it. But by the 19th, me and one of my buddies were at the bar, and I couldn't hear anything out of that ear. I was 100% deaf by that point, all the way from the 13th to then. It had just progressed downhill like that. And probably like 10 years prior to that, when my friends had told me that if you're ever having trouble hearing, you should really go into the doctor and they can clean the earwax out for you. And I never heard of that before. So back in the USA at that time, 10 years ago, uh, the doctor went ahead and they took a water pick to loosen up the earwax in each of my ears, and they took um, a tweezers and pulled it out of there. And they asked me if I could hear any better. And I was like, yeah, I can hear a little bit better. So this time here, like I said, when I was completely deaf on April 19th, I told my buddy at the bar, I was like, um, I'm gonna I think I'm gonna go into the doctor tomorrow, or I am going into the doctor tomorrow and see if they can clean that earwax out and so I can hear again. So I go in there and I told the doctor that I'm deaf in the left ear and um, that I was like, I think I've been wearing earplugs and I think I've just been packing the earwax so deep into there. And he's like, well, let me take a look. So he goes in, he looks at my left ear with his little light, like they use on babies and stuff like that. And he's like, yep, that ear is completely plugged. And then he looked at my right ear. He's like, that one's not bad. He's like, do you want me to clean that one out too? And I was like, yes, I want it all as maintenance here. So I'll be good for a few years. So they take me in the back. And this time they used a lawn metal rod with a Slurpee spoon on the end of it, like Slurpees back from Walmart back in the 90s or whatever. And he stuck that in there and he did one rotation with it and pulled out a big huge chunk of earwax, and it had a blood on the edges of it or whatever. And then he did the other ear, didn't show that to me. It was obviously nothing really in there. And then he took me back to his desk and he's like, can you hear any better? And I was like, no, I can't hear any better. And he's like, if you want, I could prescribe you some antibiotics. And um, I was like, we'll see or whatever. And he's like, well, he's like, if your hearing doesn't improve in 2 days, come back here or whatever. So I went home and I tried to go to sleep for the night, and I couldn't even lay on that ear. It hurt. So, um, so the next morning I went into the doctor again and I said, I have pain in that ear now. I can't lay on it or whatever. And he's like, okay, I'll take a look. So he gets out a lawn metal camera or whatever, and he stuck it in my ear because I think I still have earwax in there. I was like, my hearing hasn't improved. I was like, is there some kind of um, drops that I can put in there that will dissolve any earwax that's around all the little hair particles that make you hear, or anything like that? And or like even a candle or something that'll melt the wax out of there. And he goes in, he takes me in the back room. He sticks that lawn metal camera in my ear, which hurt like heck, you guys. And he had me look at the computer screen, and he's like, "There is no more earwax in here. It's completely cleaned out." And I could see my eardrum in there, and also on the side walls of my ear canal going into there, I could see bloody scabs from where his tool to get the earwax out must have cut that a little bit. So he's like, I'll tell you what. He's like, I'm gonna put you on and I was like, can I get on some antibiotics or something? And I guess before he took me out of the room, he went ahead in my left nostril here. I guess your nose and your ear must be somehow connected. He went up there with that metal camera, and that hurt like hell. I was like, it was hurting already. He's like, yeah, I just bear with it. He's like, I got to keep going up into there. And he's like, look at the computer screen. I was like, I can't turn my head. I'm in so much pain. And he's like, I see some nasal drainage back there. And he's like, um, That might be plugging it up because he asked me if I had a cold or anything. I was like, no. I was like, I don't have a cough. I don't have a runny nose. Um, I'm not coughing anything. I was spitting up some really thick mucus though, but I was definitely not choking on it or any type of cough or anything like that. And he's like, well, I'm going to put you on antibiotics. He put me on them for about 10 days. So I was taking those. And after I was done with them on April 30th was the last day. Still absolutely no improvement. I was 100% deaf out of that left ear. And how I was testing it is I had earbuds actually hooked up to my computer and I watched like really soft voice YouTube videos or whatever. And I could hear what the people were saying in my right ear, but the left ear, it was just barely a muffle. I couldn't understand anything. And the thing that was really scaring me in Cambodia while I was on the prescriptions is I would go to eat at my favorite restaurant, and the waitress, she would set my food off to the left of me, and I would look over and see my food there. I hadn't even heard her set those heavy plates down next to me. I was hearing nothing. And then I would see like a man or a woman or whatever. I wouldn't see them or whatever, but they would sit down next to me, and I'd be talking to somebody, and I'd turn around, and I wouldn't even, well, not even talking to anybody. I'd just turn around, be surprised that somebody was sitting next to me that I didn't hear them, and some of them will be on their phone listening to a little bit of music just at a quiet level. I didn't even know that those people were there and had sat down next to me. That's how deaf I was. And the thing that really was scaring me is one of my friends in his 30s. He was a couple of years younger than me. Um, he operates a lot of heavy equipment, so he wears earplugs all the time. And he ended up getting an earache. And he's a tough man like me. You know, we just throw some dirt on it, we just walk it off, you know, or whatever. Well, eventually it got so bad that he finally went to the doctor, and he has permanent hearing loss. He has to wear earplugs now. It was from some virus that got in his ears. So that really scared me because I wanted to get this assessed right away, not just walk it off or something, hope that it goes away. So from the first through the fourth here, I was still totally deaf in there in that ear. And the doctor, before he let me leave that day, when he was prescribing me the prescriptions, I kind of confronted the doctor. I was like, hey, before you send me away, I was like, what do you think it is? If these prescriptions don't fix it, what do you think it is? And he goes ahead and he's like, I'll tell you what. He goes ahead and he pulls up Google, and he's like, I think that, and some pictures, he's like, what I think might have happened is um, a balloon has formed in your ear, between your ear and between your nose. And he showed me a picture. It was like, it wasn't like snot or anything. It was like an actual membrane balloon that formed there. Is what he's thinking. Like I said, he wasn't able to go all the way in between there. And he's like, well, we'll see after after you're done with the medications here. Well, by then I'd flown back to the United States on April 30th, and I went to my niece's birthday party here on the 4th, which was yesterday, and I still had no hearing out of it. Well, this morning here on May 5th, I woke up and I had 100% hearing back. Something must have popped. That balloon or membrane must have popped, and now I can hear again. And then a little bit earlier this morning here, I was kind of moving my jaw, and I did hear like a pop in my ear. So this might not be a permanent thing or whatever, but obviously something broke loose that or whatever, so that I'm able to hear again. So um, hope this helps you guys in diagnosing what's wrong with you guys, because I was so worried. I was getting all my house all unwinterized for the winter here before I was going to go to the doctor, because I was afraid if I have to go under for surgery where they'd have to go in and cut that membrane out of there or whatever, I would have stitches, and then I won't be able to do any hard physical labor, or else the other option, I guess, would have been I'd have to get hearing aids, which I've kind of come to thinking about it, come to terms with it that I might need hearing aids or whatever. But thank God my hearing came back. And amazingly, when we were at the hotel, we had to stay at a hotel before we came back home. And I was having breakfast, I was watching on TV, and all of a sudden a thing came up about hearing aids. They're like, you can buy it through this place. I thought it started with like A or whatever. And you can get hearing aids for $98 a piece. And they're like, hearing aids are one of the biggest ripoff industries, because I just talked to my mom, and my uh, grandpa paid $10,000 for his hearing aids. I don't know if it was just for one or for both of them, because he had two of them. And I was like, that's terrible of how much the medical world rips a person off. So I would definitely be like Googling um, that one that they had on TV or whatever, the infomercial or whatever, and pay $98 for a hearing aid if I would need one because it would have only been for the left ear. So, all right. If you guys like this content, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll just keep kicking out these videos about repair videos, my travels throughout Cambodia and Southeast Asia during the winters, and how to save money so you guys can have a better life. All right, take care. Bye.